I seek refuge in God from the outcast Satan, in the name of God, who is gracious, merciful. Chapter number 52, Quran Topics by Tanvir Kazmi, Halal Meat, English Audio. Al Ma'idah 5, verse 3: Prohibited for you are animals that die of themselves, blood, the meat of pigs, animals dedicated to other than God, strangled, struck with an object, fallen from a height, gored, attacked by a wild animal, attacked by a wild animal, unless you save your animal before it dies, and animals sacrificed on altars. Also prohibited is dividing the meat through a game of chance. This is an abomination. Today the disbelievers have given up concerning your religion. Do not fear them. Fear me instead. Today I have completed your religion, perfected my blessing upon you, and I have decreed submission Islam as a religion for you. If one is forced by famine to eat prohibited food without being deliberately sinful, then God is forgiver merciful. They consult you concerning what is lawful for them. Say, lawful for you are all good things, including what trained dogs and falcons catch for you. You train them according to God's teaching. You may eat what they catch for you, and mentions God's name thereupon. You shall observe God. Allah is most efficient in reckoning. Allah is most efficient in reckoning. Today all good food Today all good food is made lawful for you. The food of the people of previous scripture, the book, is lawful for you. Also you may marry the chaste women among the believer, as well as the good women chaste from the followers of the previous books, provided you pay them their due dowries. You shall maintain chastity, not committing adultery, not taking secret lovers. Anyone who rejects faith, all his vain all his work will be in vain, and in the hereafter they will be with the losers. Al-An'am 6 verse 118. You shall eat from that upon which God's name has been pronounced, if you truly believe in his revelations. Why should you not eat from what God has Why should you not eat from that upon which God's name has been mentioned? He has detailed for you what is prohibited for you, unless you are forced. Indeed, many people mislead others with their personal opinions without knowledge. Your Lord is fully aware of the transgressors. You shall avoid obvious sin as well as the hidden ones. Those who have earned sins will surely pay for their transgressions. Do not eat from that upon which the name of God has not been mentioned, for it is an abomination. The devil inspired their allies to argue with you. If you obey them, you will be idol worshippers. Al-An'am 6 verse 136. They even set up they even set aside a share of God's provisions of crops and livestock, and saying, this share belongs to God, according to their claims, and this share belongs to our idols. However, what was set aside for their idols never reached God, while the share they set aside for Allah invariably went to their idols. Miserable indeed is their judgment. Thus were the idol worshippers duped by their idols to the extent of killing their own children. In fact, their idols inflict great pain upon them and confuse their religion for them. Had Allah willed, they would have not done it. You shall disregard them and their fabrications. They said, these are livestock and crops that are prohibited. No one shall eat except whomever we permit. So they claimed they also prohibited the riding of certain livestock. Even the livestock they eat, they never pronounce God's name as they sacrifice them. Such are innovations attributed to Him. He will surely require them for their innovation. They also said, what is the bellies of these livestock is reserved exclusively for the males among us and prohibited for our wives. But if what But if it was stillbirth, they permitted their wives to share therein. They will certainly require them for their innovations. He is the most wise, all knowing. Losers indeed are those who killed their children foolishly due to their lack of knowledge, and prohibited what God has provided for them, and followed innovations attributed to God. They have gone astray, they are not guided. Al-An'am 6 verse 142. Some livestock supply you with transportation as well as bedding material. Eat from God's provision to you and do not follow the steps of Satan. He is your most ardent enemy. Al-An'am 6 verse 143. Eight kinds of livestock regarding the two kinds of sheep and the two kinds of goats say, is it the two males that he prohibited, or the two females, or the contents of the wombs of the two females? Tell me what you know, if you are truthful. Regarding the two kinds of camels and the two kinds of cattle, say, is it the two males that he prohibited, or the two females, or the contents of the wombs of the two females? Were you witnessed when Allah decreed such a prohibition for you? Who's more evil than those who invent such lies and attribute them to Allah? They thus mislead the people without knowledge. God does not guide such evil people. Say, I do not find in the revelation given to me any food that is prohibited for any eater except carry on, running blood, the meat of pigs, for it is contaminated, and the meat of animals blasphemously dedicated to other than God, and the meat of animals blasphemously dedicated to other than God. If one is forced to eat these without being deliberate or malicious, then your Lord is forgiver, most merciful. Al-Nahl 16 verse 114. Therefore you shall eat from God's provisions everything that is lawful and good, and be appreciative of God's blessing if you do worship Him alone. He only prohibits for you dead animals, blood, the meat of pigs, and food which is dedicated to other than God. If one is forced to eat these without being deliberate or malicious, then God is forgiving, most merciful. You shall not utter lies with your own tongues, stating, this is lawful and this is unlawful, to fabricate lies and attribute them to Allah. Surely those who fabricate lies and attribute them to God will never succeed. They enjoy briefly, then suffer painful punishment. Al-Hajj 22 verse 34. For each congregation we have decreed rites whereby they commemorate the name of God, for providing them with the livestock. Your God is one, and the same God you shall all submit to him. Give give good news to the obedient. Give good news to the obedient. They are the ones whose hearts tremble upon mentioning Allah. They steadfastly preserve during adversity. They observe prayers, and from our provisions to them they give charity. The animal offerings are among the rites decreed by God for your own good. You shall mention God's name on them while they are standing in line. Once they are offered for sacrifice, you shall eat there. You shall eat therefrom and feed the poor and the needy. This is why we subdued them for you, that you may show our that you may show your appreciation. Neither their meat nor their blood reaches God. What reaches him is your righteousness. He has subdued them for you, that you may show your appreciation by glorifying Allah for guiding you. Give good news to the charitable. God defends those who believe. God does not love any betrayer, unappreciative.